Oh, you gotta love small towns. Everyone gets along so well. So here we go, continuing with the journey through Series 1 of Broadchurch. So far I am enjoying the progression of this. However, I'm also seeing some potential stumbling blocks, at least as far as my own personal taste, which I'm going to probably have to preface every step of this way every time that I bring up something that I would prefer the show not do, because I know other people will say, oh, but that's the best part. And I'm sure for you it is. For me, it won't be if it happens, which it probably won't. We'll get there, though. But as I said, the pace at which everything is unfolding is pretty good. So we're each, I say each episode, I'm only 2 episodes in. So if they keep this pace, it'll be a good way to do it. So because we got a few more details, a few more wrinkles, a few more leads, and while at the same time getting a little more time with the family to see how it's impacting them, spending a little more time with the cops, and getting sort of a better sense of this town as a whole, because I sussed out pretty early on into the first episode that this was going to be a story about a community as much as it was about a crime, or even the family that crime impacted. So it does seem to be balancing where to put time really well, which is good. Even though she gave the monkey to Danny's sister, I've got my eye on that reporter. I'm like, the psychic was an odd addition. And I'm really curious as to whether that's going to show up again and be a recurring element in the show and how that'll play out, or if that's just going to basically drop a hint in regards to Tennant and his character's damage that's going to be pulled upon later. I don't know. But obviously, I'm also going to call the father absolutely did it, because we're 2 episodes into an 8-episode series. There's no way that they're on to what is that's going on, or if he's in any way involved. There's way more to it than that. I am gonna make the call that spoilers, you should know that. I am gonna make the call that Danny's dad is gay, and what he was doing was hooking up with he said he was hooking up with a friend who he doesn't remember the name of. I'm sure he was hooking up with a friend who quite possibly he never knew the name of, depending on how they found each other. That's my guess for him. We'll see where things go from there. I'm very nervous that the background we're going to get on Danny is going to involve just kid sex stuff, or kid porn creation stuff. That's just a gut instinct. Like, I don't want it to, and not like I'm saying, how dare you make a story, that involves that. It's not a moral panic issue for me. It's just, that's the first place my head went, and I almost feel like it's the most obvious thing, because I'm looking at the way his friend is behaving, and and my first logical thought on that is they were both involved in something. What could it be? And that's where my head leaps to for kids at that age. It could be something else. I hope it's something else. Like, that whole notion would just kind of skeeve me in general. Like, in a way, I really kind of don't want to be skeeved right now, but we'll see as it goes along. The fun thing is, because I'm pre-recording all this well before they go up, because I'm doing this so that I can have content while I'm on vacation, I don't have to worry about you folks spoiling stuff for me in the comments on any given episode. Ha ha! So if I'm right or if I'm wrong, talk all you like in the comments. It won't matter. Well, no, I say that. Don't get overly enthusiastic with it, just because, I don't know if other people watching this and going in the comments will have seen the whole series. I'm dwelling on this too much. So what else is there? I'm finding it interesting. I think the moment that was like a really good crystallizing moment was the family handing over a list of people who they thought might have killed Danny, and Coleman her character looks at it, and she just goes, well, these are your friends. They're like, yeah, we know. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch how this depicts, an event like this turning relationships on their head and just turning dynamics on their heads, because I'm not going to say there's no reason for niceties, but the desire for answers is going to completely override social niceties for this family, if nobody else. And also, I think they're doing a really good job of showing the pain for Jodie Whittaker, especially because, like, I totally get her wanting to get out of that house and just do something, do anything to feel some semblance of normal. So she tries to go shopping, but every look that she gets from another human being just reemphasizes to her that it's not normal and what it was that happened, and I'm not going to go so far as to say she's trying to move on. I don't think she is, but she's trying to cope, and something that would help her cope would be some vague sense of normalcy, or at least a short stretch of time that doesn't remind her of what it is she's having to cope with, and she doesn't seem to be able to get that. I think the least, right now, at least for me, the least interesting sort of thread that I expect is a red herring, but is the sister having the boyfriend and him being involved with the cocaine. I'm calling right now that that's a dead end and that's a red herring, and I don't find her or him or that whole dynamic interesting enough to care. So, like that, I'm kind of like, that's not what I'm nervous about, because I made reference to this at the start of the review. The main thing that I'm worried about is how much is going to get devoted to Tennant and whatever caused his issue. I will fully admit that I am intrigued about whatever it is in his backstory that is getting reference to, whatever this previous case was that's gotten mentioned a few times. However, by and large, I always find detective stories to be much more effective and interesting, at least for me and for my sensibilities, when it's about their work as opposed to who they are as people. I'll be blunt about it. I would rather watch, Columbo than Luther. I'd rather see something that's about them unraveling the mystery than about this person who happens to be solving a mystery. So, and again, that's just my preference, but it does really feel like they're setting up, really digging into him and his damage. And that kind of reminds me of something like Insomnia, which I actually kind of like the American version of. It's pretty decent. I really didn't like the original of that, which I actually saw long before Nolan remade it. But I get worried about that, where it's all this focus on this damaged detective to the point that you kind of forget what the supposed mystery even was. So I worry about the amount of emphasis that I expect to be put on that. I don't think the show will lose the thread by doing that. It's just not an area that I'm going to find particularly interesting, because I find him as a character most interesting when he's just being the outsider there, forcing somebody like Coleman's character to have to look at her friends and neighbors in ways that she doesn't ever want to have to look at them, but he's gonna make her do it because this is the job. That's where I find him interesting. That's the dynamic I find interesting. Whenever they do the slow lingering shots of just him and his vision goes blurry or whatever, I kind of zone out a little bit, if I'm being completely honest. So that's sort of where I am. It's still moving along pretty well. Like I said, nothing's gone wrong. It's holding my interest just fine. I am, like I said, I'm seeing the things that I am afraid about how much time is going to get devoted to them later. But right now, 2 episodes in, the balancing of elements, the amount of time given to each, really well handled, really well put together, really well balanced. We'll see if that holds. And that'll do it for my thoughts on Broadchurch episode 2. Have you seen it? What are your thoughts about it? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's all the stuff to do, such as support me on Patreon, like, subscribe, links for all that stuff, and more. Things even that I didn't mention. It's down in the description. So until next time, this council is adjourned.